It's hard to strike the right balance, I suppose, between being a mum and being a business owner. It feels like all the pressure is on my shoulders, especially when things aren't going the way I want them to go. Hello! Once again, filming over in California, which has just been so nice. So a question came in from one of our members, Valerie, and it's such a great question, so I really wanted to talk about it on the podcast this week. She said, how do you juggle the mental load and stress of running a business with motherhood and family life? And I know that so many of us are in that place where it's just this battle between, how to bloody well juggle it all. I mean, I don't even really know if you can balance it all. I don't know if that's such a thing. I think that's just the pressure we put on ourselves. And so I really wanted to take some time to answer this, because I know the struggle of this. In 2018, October 2018, my first son Casey was born, and obviously life drastically changed and business changed too. I remember, for me, I mean, I was still kind of checking in with work, obviously, so it wasn't like I was just completely vacant from it all, but I was kind of really removed. We'd set everything up so that it could kind of keep going. The team knew what they were doing, so it was just amazing from that perspective. And especially in those early days of having a baby, I felt a sense of oh my gosh, I'm not there for the business, and I felt guilty that I wasn't there for the business, and it almost created an anxiety in me. But for the first 8 months of having Casey, I really was just in mum mode and enjoying hanging out with him and just having fun. Funnily enough, I think it was the January after he was born, so he was 3 months old, I realised we had our best financial month in business. And at the time, I was just so caught up in feeling anxious about work, and that I wasn't working, and that I wasn't, for all the years building up to that moment, I'd worked so hard. So to kind of take my foot off the pedal and take a step back was just a weird feeling. It was like having to get used to doing things differently. So when we had our best financial month, I literally completely overlooked that and just was thinking so much about I'm not there, and what if we just start, things stop working, and blah blah blah, all those things. I remember when he was about 8 months old, I tried to start making my first pieces of content to kind of get back into content creation and getting back out there. And I remember it was such an effort. I felt like I was really trying to force it. And so I really felt like it was probably a year before I felt like I could fully, and then it wasn't even fully, but I could start to kind of build a bit more of a rhythm. And then Casey was a year, and then I got pregnant with Marley, and so then I was basically pregnant again. And I remember just before Marley was born, having this spur of productivity, and because I wanted to get stuff done before she was born. And I remember 4 weeks after she was born doing a launch, and it was COVID lockdown time, so we were all inside anyway. I remember her in my arms, and I was feeding her while I was doing these live sessions and this launch. And in hindsight, I don't think it was the best decision for me personally. I look back and I wish that I had just taken more time just to be mum with Marley when she was little, because I felt like my head was very much still in work mode. So even though I was obviously with her all the time because I was working from home, I don't know how present I actually was. And so many of us experience this, and whatever, I don't beat myself up about it, but if I could go back and do things differently, I probably would. But so now currently Marley she'll be what is she? She is 20 months, something like that. Should know that really. She's 2 in a few months' time, basically. And then Casey is 3.5. So yeah, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And I have found, especially with such little kids, I've found it's hard to figure out to strike the right balance, I suppose, between being a mum and being a business owner. For me and my family, our sole family income is based on me, my business. So Kellen, my husband, is a stay-at-home dad, which honestly is such a blessing, and I'm so grateful that he made that decision to kind of be with the kids and just help out so much with the home stuff. And I feel fortunate because I know not everyone is in that position that I'm in. But at the same time, it then feels like all the pressure is on my shoulders for us to, all for financially, it's completely on my shoulders. So it feels like it can sometimes feel like pressure, especially when things aren't going the way I want them to go. So like recently we have just had a spurt where we've brought on like lots more people, and obviously what happens, expenses creep up, but we've not necessarily reached a point yet where the growth has kind of kicked in. So you've got your expenses creeping. You're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And so like, even though I know what the plan is and we've got a good plan in place, it's really scary in those moments to know, blimmin' heck, not only do I carry the load for my family financially, I'm also responsible for employing a bunch of people and like having this team. There's nearly 20 of us now in terms of full-time employees and also contractors who we work closely with. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like this load is heavy, especially like I said, when stuff isn't going the way you want it to go. And then just in general, like business can feel so stressful and overwhelming. I remember earlier on this year going through a phase where I just felt like I was going to the office and then I was just having a really unproductive, unfulfilled work days. Getting home, Callum would say, how did you get on today? And I'd be like, ugh. And I just found myself feeling in I felt really low. I felt really stressed and anxious from a work perspective. And my energy was really low. I felt depleted. And I think for me as well, at the stage of business that I'm at now, I feel because there's the team side of things and the operation side of things, there's so many more emotional elements to it, because like everyone on the team has an emotional perspective, and balancing all of that and trying to figure out that whole piece in itself can just weigh a lot on you emotionally. At least it does for me. And so, yeah, I found the real stress of it all. It was frustrating. However, when it comes to then, like, okay, so the question really is, how do you unpick it from these situations? Like, how do you actually deal with the stress and anxiety of building a business with motherhood and family? And so this for me is where I've had to really change and get intentional about the way I do things. Otherwise I go insane. One of the things for me that has helped me so much is all of the personal development work I put in over the years before actually having a family, like having my own kids. And I feel like that has just been such a game changer for me, because what it's taught me is perspective. So for example, like earlier on this year when I was going through this phase where I felt really frustrated, I felt really overwhelmed, it didn't take long for me to become aware of how much I was struggling and how crappy I felt. And then I did something about it. So I won't let it spill on and on and on and on where I feel crap and low. I'll nip it in the bud really quickly, because I don't want to be in that place where I feel crap. Like, I just don't. So, and I think that from all the years of personal development work, it's really helped me with mental resilience, just self-care. It's helped me from a perspective of literally awareness and changing my perspective on a situation. So earlier on in the year, for example, when I was feeling this real struggle from a work perspective, work-wise, I, was making sure I was having like crystal sound healing sessions like on a weekly basis. I carved out a Thursday for myself. So my Thursday was my mind business soul day, and it was the day for me to have my crystal sound healing sessions, for me to work on my business. It was the time for me to make podcast episodes, which honestly, quite frankly, mostly really therapeutic, because I'm just sitting here talking about stuff, and as I often talk on a podcast, I like talk things through, and I find it really helpful to just kind of, I give myself permission to get into my own zone of, enjoyment, creativity. Just chatting really about the stuff I love helps me. And and journaling and visualizing and reading books that help me, and giving myself that day on a Thursday. And then the other thing that I did was and I started this from last year, but really, apart from when we were in a launch phase this year, I've been so good at making this a non-negotiable, and that is taking Fridays off to be with my kids. And I know not everyone is in the situation where you can do that, but it's looking at what's your time. So let me kind of organize this. I actually wrote some notes down in my phone so I could be organized with what I share with you. Okay, so the first thing that's on my list is really creating those non-negotiable times for yourself. Non-negotiable time for when you're working, non-negotiable time for when you're with your kids and your family. And for me, this has been so important because it used to all just spill into each other, and it used to leave me feeling crap. I either felt really guilty when I was working because I was away from my kids, or I felt really anxious when I was with my kids because I was away from work, and I drove myself crazy. And don't get me wrong, there obviously are moments now where I'm working and I do feel I really miss my kids. However, I'm in a much better place because I'm intentional about, I know that I'm going to be working on these days and this time, and I know I'm with my kids on these days and throughout this time, and it just helps me so much to feel good about that, and to be this is what it is. I feel good because I'm here to keep building my business so that I can help them live their best life, and also for them to see me go after my dreams as they're growing up and realize what they can make happen too. So I work from the office on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I also try and factor in time in the morning to spend with them, and then time in the evening to spend with them, quality time, so that I'm getting to hang out with them. And don't get me wrong, life is busy sometimes, so there's days where I'm I just fail, really fail. But I think that is the key where the personal development comes in, is just not beating yourself up about it, because it doesn't achieve anything. It does not achieve anything. So all I do is think, how can I get better? What can I do that's going to help me get better with this? And so my Friday is my family fun day, and taking Marley swimming in the morning. Then we often go to trampolining and go to a farm in the afternoon, or something where we just try and plan something really fun. And then the weekend is with the kids. So before having kids, I used to just work all the time, and now I literally do not really work on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I might do a minimal amount of work, but really, I'm not working. I am not thinking about work. I can confidently say I'm not even thinking about work at all. So, and it feels so good to be free of it, and to not even let it weigh on my mind. Even if we're going through a tough phase, I will not let it weigh. I try and not let it weigh on my mind, and most of the time I'm successful at doing that. So for you, carving out that non-negotiable time, even if it's 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes in the evening to be with your kids, and the weekend, or whatever time you can make, but getting clear on when you're working and when you're not. And when you're working, work, and when you're with your kids, be with your kids, put your phone away, and get into some really good disciplines so that you feel present, so that you feel good about yourself. I've really found this makes such a difference, and it helps me balance that guilt, anxiety thing, because I know I'm showing up and just doing the best I can do, and that's all we can ever really ask of ourselves. So one, create that non-negotiable time for yourself. What do you want that non-negotiable time to look like every single day and throughout the week, and maybe in the month, what do you want it to look like? I'm going to get into a bit more of what it might look like on a bigger month, year kind of perspective in a sec. The second thing, which I think I've already said, is when you are working, work. When you're with your kids and your family, be with them and be present. The biggest struggle I've found is that when I'm not present for either, that's when that little negative committee in my head kicks in, and I start feeling really crap. I'll struggle with the anxiety or the guilt. So be present in those moments, and know those are the moments you've carved out for the thing that you're doing. So be present for it. And like I said, I literally tell myself, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm doing this because I want to be able to create an amazing life, and it's really helpful. Okay, the third thing is having someone that you can talk to about it, getting support. So I talk about what's going on for me to other people. So I talk to Kellen, my husband, about it, and he really helps me to think through and to talk through and to just process how I'm feeling and what's going on, and it helps me to feel so much better. I also work with coaches. So I have, obviously I talked to you about how I have the crystal sound healing sessions, which are actually virtual, which are great, but also working with like on mindset and doing the inner work, but with other people who are holding the container for me. And I found that doing that one-on-one work with people, like, it's just so great. So Michelle Simmons, one of the people I work with, you know, especially earlier on this year, we had like quite a few calls over a short period of time because I was feeling really overwhelmed with things. And literally, like, we would sit there on those calls and I would just blab everything out, and then she would give me really helpful things to process it and to think through it and to break it down and to like get rid of what was going on under the surface. And it was just so helpful. So work with people, and if you can't afford to hire someone to work with, for example, right now, there are people in the communities that you're part of, like for example FEA. There are so many incredible, sweet, amazing women inside of FEA who would be there to support you in a heartbeat. And so it's like, are you utilising the communities and the support that you really do have around you, and create that support around you? Like, be intentional about creating that support around you, because we all need help, we all need support, we all need somewhere to go to talk about what's going on for us. And if you have a safe space to do that, it's such a game changer. Like, I have to get it out. If I stew on it and I let it, you know, simmer under the surface, it is not good for my mental health at all. Like, and so I just will not let that happen. So find people that you can talk to about what's going on. And obviously other things are, this kind of leads into, you know, my fourth tip is making space to do the inner work. Like I was talking about personal development has been such a game changer for me from a parenting and business perspective. Like, there's no way I'd be where I am now if it wasn't for the personal development work I've done, because it's created so much resilience in me. It's really helped me to shift my mindset and the thinking so that I can be the person that can show up and keep going, but not only keep going when times are hard, because yes, times are hard, but when times are hard, actually seeing it as a way to is it kind of exciting, or you know, how to thrive when it is a struggle, but to feel like it's not really a struggle. And so that the personal development work has really helped me there. But doing things like journaling is a great way to get everything out off your mind onto paper and just distill how you're feeling. So journaling, or connecting with your dreams and why you're doing what you're doing, and staying connected both to the kind of business owner you want to be and the kind of mum you want to be and the kind of wife you want to be, and being really intentional about those things in a way that's realistic is really helpful. And I find I get really inspired by how can I get better, really inspires me. And I don't beat myself up because I'm not where I want to be. I just get excited about where I could get to, and I let that excitement help me close the gap. And I'm always learning. And like earlier on this year, I bought a course, Life Book, I think it's called, by Mind Valley. And it kind of walks through like the 12 different areas of, like, breaks life down into 12 different areas, and you can go through and get really intentional about what you want from each area. So I feel like I'm kind of always trying to do this work where I'm like getting intentional about what do I want this to look like, what do I want this to feel like, and what are the action steps I can take right now in order to make that start happening in my life now. I take like lots of parenting courses because I feel like I want to be the best parent I can be. Like, I want to know how I can be the best version of myself. So if I go and learn from other people who are doing amazing things and who have like their whole skill set and the whole knowledge base is in like how to, you know, parent successfully, then I'm going to learn from those people. So I make the time to go and learn the stuff so that when I am showing up as a mum, I'm trying to show up as the best version of a mum I can be. But the thing is, like, this is where the personal development work comes in, because like something that I was talking to someone about recently is, you know, as a mum, for example, as a parent, sometimes we try to be perfect. We want to be perfect. And when we make mistakes, we give ourselves a really hard time. And we can do this in business as well. But the reality is, it is just absolutely not about being perfect, because if we were all to grow up in a household where our parents were perfect, then literally how would we ever cope with failure? How would we ever cope with making mistakes and messing up? We wouldn't. So they need to see us mess up so they can feel confident that they can mess up, because this is the number one thing not one of the number one things, but one of the really important things in businesses. You have to be willing to mess up. You have to be willing to roll your sleeves up, get messy, and to get going in business, because you start off and you're not perfect. You're never perfect, ever. So you have to be willing to be so imperfect and to just get going with it. And it's the same being a parent. And for me, those two mindsets have really helped me to balance building a business and being a mum, realizing I don't have to be perfect at either of them. I get to be me, imperfect me, messy, making mistakes, and just doing the best I can. And that is all we can ever ask of ourselves. And if you can hold on to that mindset, it just relieves the pressure. Like, I remember when I had the realization from a parenting perspective of, it's okay for me to just keep messing up and for me to make these mistakes. Like, it's fine, because I'm showing them that I'm human too, and that is a really great lesson for them to learn. So yeah, personal development work for me has just been massive in helping me handle the stresses of business and the stresses of parenthood, and like actually surviving it and getting out the other side. And yes, obviously feeling like a crazy person a lot of the time, but really enjoying it at the same time. Like, enjoying it, because blooming heck, I mean, obviously all of you who have kids know it goes by in the blink of an eye. Like, I can't even believe, like, Casey, I feel like he's just so big already, and it goes so fast. So for me, doing that personal development, doing that inner work has just meant everything. So one of the people who, from a parenting perspective, who I love learning from is Dr. Becky at Good Inside. She's got a great Instagram account. She's got started a membership, which I immediately joined. So I've loved following her stuff. I found it really helpful. And also she obviously talks about, the whole idea of just being an imperfect parent and not beating yourself up about it. Okay, so the fifth thing I was going to share is plan your year so you know what breaks you're going to have away from your business and what more intense, full-on family kid time you're going to have. And I found this really helpful, because if you know what you've got coming up that you can look forward to, it helps again when you're in, like, say you're in a really busy period of work and you're working away and you're spending less time with your kids than your family, but you know that in a couple of months' time you're going on a holiday and you're going to spend like 2 weeks together or a week together, and it's just you guys getting to spend that time together as a family. It's easier to get your head around. I'm working really, really, really hard now, but I've planned this break in for us. One of the things we did recently, I bought a tent first, so that we could go on more adventures as a family, though we have yet to use the tent. But then we actually bought a motorhome, and I'm really excited about the motorhome because I want to be able to, like, on a Thursday night or a Friday night, shove us all in the motorhome and just go away for the weekend and escape. And so, like, doing things that are good for your mental health, obviously you don't have to do that. You could just get intentional about fun things you want to do on the time you're spending with your family and your kids, so that time is more precious. They say that you remember the new things you do. So the things you just do over and over and over and over again. Like, you can't remember what you did last year on that stuff. The things that you will remember, the memories that you have, is the stuff that really sticks out because it was different, or it was new, or you went to a new place, or you did something new. It creates that memory that you remember it. And so for me this year, I wrote down a list of 12 fun things I wanted to do with the kids and the family, and decided that once a month on a weekend we were going to go and do something that was different and really fun, so that we really remembered it. So again, getting more intentional about the time you're spending with your family and your kids, knowing that time is just even more special and precious because you're so much more intentional about what you're doing with it. And for me, that's just really helped. It's really helped from a mental level feel good about being enjoying the time with my family and kids. And it's not like I get to the weekend, I'm like, I haven't made any plans, what are we even doing? I don't even know. And then just feeling like I've just wasted the weekend being really unintentional. And maybe then I've picked up my phone way too many times and I've just been too busy and I've not been present enough for the kids. And then it's in those moments I start to feel like, what is going on? I'm not in a good place with all of this right now. So anyway, those are the things that really helped me. Obviously, it is a messy, imperfect journey building a business and raising a family, but it's also so incredible and so magical, and with the right perspective and the right perspective, right attitude, the right support, the right intentions, it can just be so amazing. And yes, there are going to be times when you're just so fed up with it all and it's frustrating and it's hard and blah blah blah, because that's just life. I mean, I feel like I go in those phases all the time, but knowing and recognizing when you're in them so you can pull yourself back out of it because you know how to pull yourself back out of it, that becomes the game changer. So all those things for me have been so helpful, and obviously I'm not remotely perfect at doing any of the stuff myself, but I give it my best shot. I give it my best shot, and I genuinely feel good most of the time about how I'm showing up for both, and I'm happy with that. So I hope this has helped. I feel like this is a really great conversation for us to have, because I'm sure so many other people have got great tips of great ways they do things. So if you have, definitely leave comments, tag me on Instagram at I am Carrie Green or at Female Entrepreneur Association. Love to hear from you and your stories and your tips and thoughts on this. So yeah, leave a comment or send me a DM. But I really hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next Tuesday for another episode of the She Means Business Show. All right, take care. Bye.